Welcome, all of you. We're so happy to see you here on this glorious, happy occasion. I'm Kay Chandler, the interim Chief Executive Officer for the Foundation. And I also want you to know that another board member, Kathy Bauer, is here today as well. So, this event really has a special place in our hearts, doesn't it? In fact, when scholarship season comes around, our donors and staff, volunteers, are really overwhelmed with inspiration from the hundreds of students we have the privilege to meet and admire through the application process. Today's celebration provides our donors and scholarship recipients. Okay.
Sorry, just get it down.
Okay.
Hopefully that's better.
Okay, is that better? No. Okay. Get closer. Okay. All right, I'll keep trying, and if you can't hear me, just say what? What? My mother told us never to say that, but okay. We are celebrating today our donor and scholarship recipients, and this gives them an opportunity to get to know one another better, and as well as having a better understanding of the impetus for establishing scholarship funds. Our donors recognize that scholarship can be a game changer for students and their families. Scholarships help make college attainable. They open doors of opportunity, and they provide pathways to prosperity and a meaningful work life for many. Investing in our students is one of the smartest ways to support our region and future's generation. After all, today's scholars are the leaders of tomorrow, the leaders of our region and our country and the world. The San Diego Foundation Community Scholarship Program is the largest in the region outside the university system itself. Since 1997, we've awarded more than $30 million to thousands of local San Diego students. To our scholarship recipients, congratulations on your academic achievements. Your parents and families and your foundation are so proud of you. To our generous donors, thank you for partnering with the San Diego Foundation. Most importantly, thank you for establishing more than 140 scholarship funds and awarding more than $2.6 million in scholarship funds this year to 876 students through the San Diego Foundation Community Scholarship Program. And now I'd like to welcome the Director of the Community Scholarship Program, Danielle Valenciano.
Morning, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Yes. Fantastic. You know, I feel like I'm tall here, so I'm just gonna hunch over the whole time. So, as Kay said, I'm Danielle Valenciano. Many of you have seen my name via email or you've met in person, Director of the Scholarships Program. I wanted to introduce very quickly the rest of our team here. So we have Jessica Jasso here, if you don't mind standing really quick. She's our Scholarships Administrator. Students, please take a look at her because you will be interacting with her very heavily for the next 3 months. My other colleague is Daniel. Okay, great. Yay, at this table over there. So Daniel is in charge of working with volunteers and working on that wonderful scholarship application that you students filled out about 6 months ago. So that's Daniel's role. So wanted to introduce you to them. And as Kay had said, that we are so happy to have all of you here today. This is the culmination of a really large season that we had this year. So grateful to all of our donors who were able to provide all the support to all the students, and so proud of all the students for the accomplishments that you've achieved. As Kay had mentioned, this year, our grand total this year in scholarship dollars is $2,687,630 in 1,029 awards to 876 unique students. So that is huge. So congratulations to you on that. Some interesting stats that I thought you might like to hear are, just so you know, that 94% of all awardees are considered San Diego residents. 64% are considered first-generation college students. The majority, I think over 70%, are also considered low income, and 7% are former or current foster youth. So, you know, this is one of our big goals, is ensuring that students who need the resources are getting them. So again, congratulations to you on that. I wanted to mention for the first time this year at tables 14 and 15, we also had another scholarship program that we were helping to administer. I had mentioned it to donors in the previous couple of years. It's our Community Scholars Initiative. This is a partnership that we have with a local nonprofit called Reality Changers and the Sweetwater Union High School District, where we are helping to provide support for wraparound services and scholarships to students at 3 particular schools in Sweetwater. So they are here at tables 14 and 15, and we wanted to welcome them to this event also. So welcome. So you can see in your program the list of students who are here today. It is the fraction of all the students who have received awards this season, but the names that are listed here are the names that are in this room. So in order to recognize you a little bit better, will all the student awardees please stand up so we can give you a great round of applause. This is not done alone. So the next group of people that I would like to stand and be recognized are all of our fantastic, generous donors who have put in the time, effort, and support for all the students that are being awarded today. Donors, would you please stand? Thank you. And finally, we could not do this without the support. We have a scholarships committee that meets with our staff about 5 times a year. And so they play a very important role. Not only do they help with strategy, but they're the ones who will approve all of the selections for each week so that students aren't waiting until June to hear if they won. They know on a weekly basis as the meetings occur that whether or not they've been awarded. So will our committee members who are here today please stand? Thank you. So this year we have, this mic is acting a little funny here. So this year we have a student speaker who has been a past recipient of a couple of different scholarships. And is now working in this field of interest. His story is both unique and inspiring. So I would like to introduce Antoine Stevens-Phillips to come up here. He is, he was just recently the recipient of the Thomas Murphy Fellowship and was working for the past year at the foundation with our community impact team. He is a graduate of UCSD with a bachelor's degree in public policy, and now you are in graduate school over at San Diego State. So local schools, love it, love it, love it. Congrats to your academic achievement. Your parents and family must be very proud of you. So, so please come on up.
All right, well, thank you for having me. Let's adjust this here because I don't want to be bending over.
Tallness increase.
Yeah, does that work? Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Awesome. Again, thank you for having me. This has been rather dreamlike, And I say that because 3 years ago, I was a student at UCSD, and I was invited to this brunch. And I was one of the few students that received multiple scholarships that time. And at that time, I spoke to the previous leadership team under CEO Kathleen Mead. And after having a conversation with her and other members of the San Diego Foundation, I was invited to reach out to the foundation after finishing my program there. So before I go into that a little more, I just wanted to share my personal journey. I wanted to share how receiving scholarships from the gracious donors here has impacted my life and what path it set me on. And also I wanted to share the importance of just civic responsibility, giving back. So I am not originally from San Diego. I'm from Detroit, Michigan. Oh, okay. All right. Detroit is in the house. Okay. There we go. All right. I'm from a very challenging part of Detroit. Yeah, very challenging. The area that I grew up in Detroit, it was the west side of Detroit. High unemployment, especially for youth. A lot of drugs, a lot of alcohol. It's known for sex trafficking. And even to the degree that both of my grandparents passed because one overdosed on alcohol and the other overdosed on heroin. And today, my father still struggles with his alcohol challenge. As well, I experienced, growing up in Detroit, I experienced homelessness twice during the winter. And in Detroit, the temperatures get as low as -15. So I'm sharing this is a context. This is where I grew up. This is what I had to navigate through my childhood years and my teenage years. And I was so grateful to at that point in my life, I was very grateful to reach out to God and really devote my life to scripture, devote my life to just walking the right path, though I was surrounded in a community that was rather broken. From that standpoint, I reached out to a relative of mine, my Uncle Charles, who was a former Marine, and at the time he lived in Oceanside. And I reached out to him and I let him know that it was time for a change. I wanted to do something profound with my life, and the environment that I was in wasn't necessarily helping me do that. So he told me, come on out, nephew, come on out to San Diego, and we'll see how we can get you plugged in. So I came out, I went to Miracosta College, which was right up the road. And before I really got going at the college, there was a program called Emoja there. And the director or coordinator of that program is a fellow named Don Love. He would bring in a lot of speakers who would talk to students like myself that had come from very challenging backgrounds, who had gone through higher education, doing well, and wanted to give back. And it was because of these speakers, per se, that gave me the courage to want to do my absolute best in higher ed. In saying that, I decided in community college to do everything that I did not do in high school. I graduated high school with a 1.9 GPA. So that'll let you know how serious I took high school. I got into community college, again, was motivated by inspirational speakers and things like that. And I turned things around. I graduated community college with a 3.8 GPA. I was the student trustee at Maricosta College. I was the first VP of Legislative Affairs. I received several scholarships, and when it was time to transfer, I was successful in being admitted to UC Berkeley, UCLA, and UCSD. So, just to recap, it's not about how you start, it's about where you're determined to go. Let's see here. So, the scholarships that I was able to receive from the San Diego Foundation, as you can see in your catalog, were the Black Alumni Scholarship, Arts and Humanities, Chad Corbin Scholarship, the Doris Hendren Scholarship, the Barbara Monroe Scholarship, and the William and Lucille Scholarship. Again, when I was invited to the San Diego Foundation 3 years ago, and I met with former leadership team as well as other staff, I was asked to reach out to the foundation after my program was done, and I did that. And what that led to was an opportunity to become a Thomas Murphy Research Fellow at the San Diego Foundation. I have been in that position for a year. I just finished that at the foundation, and I just wanted to share a little bit of the projects that I worked on. One was working on donor research reports. So there's a lot of donors here who may have reached out to the foundation and asked for reports to be done. So I was the one kind of initiating that with the community impact department employees. And so that led to the transition of $1.2 million in distributed grant dollars to nonprofit organizations throughout San Diego County, whether it be in the area of homelessness, whether it be in the area of sex trafficking, whether it be in the area of early childhood education. So the skills that I learned in a Thomas Murphy research position, whether it was doing research itself, whether it was doing what's called nonprofit organization blogs, leading the communications within a department, and data visualization. I'm planning to take these skills that I acquired and apply them in my program at San Diego State University. I'm in the Educational Leadership Master's Program, and in that program, I'm involved in research, student development theory, and doing program assessments. This coming academic year, I will be the graduate assistant at San Diego State's Black Resource Center. I'll also be a graduate assistant at UCSD's Black Resource Center. Long-term career goals for me, I'm interested in a pathway towards becoming a president of a community college. I'm also interested in public office, whether that be possibly United States Senator, a governor, or US Secretary of Education. So I'll wrap up with this. It's very important to take a step back and think about our responsibility towards giving back, our civic engagement. Because of the scholarships that I received, which were strong incentives for me to pursue academic excellence and to not sell myself short. The scholarships, as well as the fellowship, I'm emboldened to participate in the future in creating scholarships, creating internships and fellowships. Something I do want to, a couple challenges I want to share with the students and the audience here is the importance of sharing your strategies of success, the ones that you do have now, with a diverse group of tomorrow's professionals, all of us in this room here. It's important to pull someone forward who doesn't look like you. This is a real test of humility, excuse me. And finally, I want to acknowledge the necessity for inclusive leadership to shape the 21st century. I challenge everybody in this room to think about how you plan to shape the remainder of this century. There's 82 years left. We've got a while to go. How you plan to shape the remainder of this century for the greater good of San Diego County and beyond. And so I want to thank you, Danielle, for inviting me to come and speak and share my story. I want to thank the community impact team. I know Katie Rast is somewhere around here. Oh, hey, Katie. And I want to thank the San Diego Foundation for, again, just showing me so much love, whether it be through scholarships, whether it be through fellowship, and whether it be through just bringing me into the family long term. Thank you.
Antoine, I have to say that if you ever do decide to run for office, I'm pretty sure you have a core group of supporters and voters right here. Thank you. Hang on a minute. Okay. Our next speaker is sitting at our table here, Pedro Villegas. As the son of Colombian parents, one a veterinarian and the other a microbiologist, Pedro Villegas learned the value of education at an early age. He holds a master's degree in Pacific International Affairs from UC San Diego, local, and a bachelor's degree from the University of Notre Dame, or Notre Dame, as I was taught in French class, but we know it's Notre Dame. Go Irish, go Irish. Today, Pedro leads strategy as Director of Community Relations at San Diego Gas and Electric, where for more than a decade, he has continued to rise in the ranks, managing community relations, corporate philanthropy, regulatory relations, and government affairs. Previously, Pedro held several positions within the California State Assembly. He's a former research fellow of the Center for U.S.-Mexican Studies and a former Foreign Language and Area Studies Fellow at the Center for Iberian and Latin American Students at UCSD. In addition to his many career accomplishments, Pedro serves on a variety of local and regional nonprofit boards. Please welcome community leader and education advocate, Pedro Villegas.
How's everybody doing? Okay, very good. If there's anything I can do to make your stay more pleasant, just let me know. And by the way, many of you know, pardon me, a fellow named Michael Brunker. He runs the Jackie Robinson YMCA. He's from Detroit, and he is now my second favorite person from Detroit. That's right. I'm sure I hear from that on his Facebook. He's all over Facebook. It's a real pleasure to be here today for a lot of reasons. But for me personally, it's because higher education is a deeply, deeply personal matter to my family, to my wife, who's on the board of the Barrio Logan College Institute right over here. That's right. But it's really humbling and an honor to be able to address you today. You're making hundreds, everyone in this room has a hand in making hundreds of dreams happen. Antoine mentioned dreams. The dreams of the students for the future, for their own future, the dreams of their parents for their children, and the dreams of this foundation and the donors and the supporters to make real transformational change in many, many, many communities. You don't get to do that very often. And honestly, if you just look at your agenda, I do a lot of traveling, I talk to a lot of foundations, I go to a lot of cities, and folks that do a lot of things at the San Diego Foundation. Dude, you got special sauce here. you got really a special sauce here. I mean, we're doing all the right things to put people through college. A couple of introductory notes. First is for the parents that are here today. Congratulations for raising an exceptional child who won a very, very important scholarship from a very, very important organization. I want to congratulate you for that. From diapers to diploma, you made it. Excellent. And to the foundation and its supporters and its donors, and many of you are at each table, thank you for believing in the power of higher education. And in particular, in this group of awardees and families, you're setting a ball in motion, and you may not know where it's going, but I can guarantee you it's going somewhere really, really, really good. So thank you for your faith in these kids, and these families, and in college. And to today's awardees, you're going to college. It's a lot of fun. Congratulations. You worked really hard to get here, to do all the right things, to be able to be competitive for a scholarship like this. You achieved something that not everybody achieved. And more than anything else, you've made your parents, your siblings, your grandparents, your aunts, your uncles, your teachers, your tutors, your mentors, your neighbors, and the sponsors of these scholarships very, very proud. Congratulations. But I don't want you to get too confident, because you still got to go to school and you still got to graduate, all right? You got to work for it, but today's your day to celebrate. You know, when the foundation invited me to come and provide the keynote remarks today, I scratched my head a little bit, because I'm not a wildly successful entrepreneur who created a widget with a great story behind it that changed the world. I am, not an elected official. I don't have the track record that Mr. Leon Williams, the Honorable Leon Williams has. Breaking down doors, being that guy that just changed everything, really, in San Diego. We really should applaud for the supervisor. I haven't made any extraordinary scientific discoveries. There's still time. And I'm not an academic PhD guy with a lot of chats and starts and any kind of intellectual insights and they go, wow, that guy should write a book. No. What I do have is an undying belief in the transformational power of college. And I do have an amazing real-life story that I'm going to share with you. It's about an incredible journey, a journey that I hope that each one of you in this room can relate to a little bit, in one way or another. Because you're about to embark on an incredible journey of your own, and it's not just you. So the student is the one that sits in the classrooms, but the family is the one that goes to college. And not just the family today, but the family that you don't know yet. Your kids and their grandkids and your future spouse and that type of thing, right? So I want to tell you a story about this guy. This guy's my dad. My dad, his name is Dr. Pedro Villegas Sr. He is a DVM. He's a doctor of veterinary medicine. He specializes in poultry. And if I told you he was an avian pathologist, that probably doesn't mean a whole lot to anybody. But if I tell you that he's a chicken doctor, yeah, now we're cooking with grease, right? And he's not just any old chicken doctor. He is a world-famous chicken doctor. I told this story to Congressman John Lewis, whose parents, grandparents, I think his parents, were chicken farmers, right? And he explains a lot about the behavior of Congress members in terms of chickens picking at each other. And he was just rolling. He just couldn't believe that, he just met the son of a chicken doctor, no less that grew up down the street from him, from Atlanta and Athens, Georgia. So yeah, it was a great moment actually. But on top of being a world famous chicken doctor, I mean, the story of how he got to be a world famous chicken doctor is really interesting because, he wasn't hatched that way, right? So, my dad was born in this little town. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Líbano, Tolima, in the country of Colombia. It's nestled at about 5,135 feet along the western mountain range. There's 3 mountain ranges in Colombia. It is a coffee town, and when the price of coffee goes up, we do well. When the price of coffee goes down, we don't do so well. So, on behalf of the people of Colombia, thank you for drinking Colombian coffee. He is the second of 12 children, and there they're all lined up. We lost one, but there they all are lined up in order. And I tell this story because he's only one of 3 boys, and the other 2 boys are number 8 and number 9. So he was raised very, very well, and the reason he was raised very, very well is because he was raised by a pack of sisters. He's the most polite guy you have ever met. So that's kind of where it came from. But they grew up poor in a town of about 40,000 people nestled in the mountains of Colombia. And when you don't have a lot of resources and you don't have any money, there's only certain resources you can count on. One of them, in his case, is that he's the most honest, earnest, and hardworking man I have ever met in my life. He also had the unquestionable support and love of that family that you see up there. And he was humble, he still is. And that's really important because if you're not humble, you can't learn. Because to learn, you have to be able to listen. And if you know it all, you ain't listening and you ain't learning, right? Yeah, I did grow up in Georgia. And he knew exactly where he was from, and he never forgot it. And to this day, one of the reasons we still live in Georgia, he lives in Georgia, is because there's a direct flight from Atlanta, Georgia, to Bogota, Colombia, and in 6 hours, a little bit less, he can be in his home country, and he can get on another little flight, and he can be in his hometown, same day. But on top of these great characteristics that he has a secret superpower. He was a good student. He was really good at school. I mean, really, really, really good at school. Didn't have 2 pennies to rub together, but he was good at school. Always at the top of his class. This is his high school. The Instituto Isidro Parra in Líbano, Tolima. He couldn't get in because his family didn't have the money. But my grandmother was very devout, and she would show up. She'd go to mass every day. And so the sisters, the monjas, the nuns, went and talked to the folks at the school, and they let all the kids go in because they were good kids with good, proper upbringing. If someone ever asks whether it matters to do things right and be earnest and be hardworking, it really does. Because this is where it started. And it was all because of the character and the nobility of very poor people that just did things the right way. So he graduates at the top of his class and he moves. He moves 72 miles away to the capital of his home state, a city called Ibagué. And he, the university he went to wasn't a great university. It was the Universidad de Tolima. There's nowhere in the rankings, but it's the university in the state, and it's what he could afford. So he goes there, and it was kind of tough, because 72 miles in Colombia isn't just 72 miles. 72 miles in Colombia, when you're in the Andes, right? You go all the way up to the top, and then you come all the way down, and you go up again. It's about 3 hours, right? And back then the roads weren't very good. And so he gets himself a little apartment. It wasn't an apartment, it was a room in a house, and he was boarding, and it was his first experience away from home. And he was living pretty meagerly. But about 4 years later, he graduates at the top of his class. Again. By the way, there's the little map in case you're wondering. In case you ever want to go, let me know. I'm the unofficial travel consultant for the Republic of Colombia. It's a beautiful place, you should go. But about 4 years later, he graduates, and then he moves to the big city. This is Bogota, Santa Fe de Bogota, Colombia. And there, he's taking some classes, he gets a job, he's living with one of my aunts that had moved there, and he gets his job, and he's taking a class at the National University. He's taking an English class to work on his English, and he's also taking this other class, a chicken doctor class. That's what I call it. I don't remember what it was, but it's a chicken doctor class. And there he met someone real special. He met the only person to ever get a better grade than he did on the test. That's my mom. He said, I must have her. Join me together we will really universe. You've seen that movie, yeah. So that's my mom, and that's where they met. And they met because, ladies, because he kicked her butt on a test. Turns out she was a better student than he was. And he's like, yeah, that's where I need to be. So anyway, while they were dating, he got great news. He won a scholarship. A scholarship a lot like yours. Except this scholarship was to go to Texas A&M University of the United States to get a master's degree. So he had to get on one of these bad boys. It's a plane. Actually, Pan Am. It's not around anymore, but back then it was what you got on when you wanted to go international, right? Y'all remember Pan Am? Yes, some of y'all remember Pan Am. Yeah, me too. Why that's important is because, think about it. This is a kid who has an opportunity to leave everything he knows. His 11 siblings, his mom, his dad, his girlfriend, his country, his language, his food, the music, everything he knows, and get on a plane for the first time and go to the United States. And guess what he did? He got on that plane. He was courageous, very courageous. He got on the plane for the first time in his life. He made it through several airports. He stared down the U.S. Customs and Immigration Service and walked right into the United States of America with broken Spanish. I love broken Spanish. I mean, it's broken English. I love broken English. And he eventually made his way to College Station to go to school. There was no money to come home. So he was marooned 2,253 miles away in Texas. So before he left, though, he talked to my mom, and they wanted to get married, so they got married by proxy. And by proxy means basically you get married when you drop your papers in the mail, and then you go to the airport and you pick up your wife. But you pay one way ticket instead of 3 one-way tickets, right? Because there's no money. And so she came up several months later, and I was born a year and a half later. After I was born, 2 weeks after that, he finished his school, and then we moved back to Colombia. But I want to stop there for a minute, because that was a very courageous decision that he made, and my mother, to move to Texas, very far away. And that one courageous decision made a whole lot of great things happen. And I mean a whole lot of great things happen. So we go back to Colombia, and within a year he gets another scholarship. He gets a scholarship to go to the University of Georgia and become a veterinary doctor. So we got on another plane, Eastern. And we flew, 2,116 miles to Athens, Georgia. We moved to Athens, Georgia, ladies and gentlemen. And after 3 years, he finished the school and moved back to Columbia. And then something real curious happened. He got a call, a long distance call. And that call for us was from his former professors at the University of Georgia. Turns out they had a position open to be a professor. And they noticed all the good deeds he had done. He noticed all the good grades he had made. They noticed his discipline, his focus as a graduate student. And he said, yeah, we want this guy here. So we moved back to Georgia. And that was really momentous. Because that faculty salary from the University of Georgia, and by the way, my mom's too, she's a microbiologist. She has a story just like my dad's. It's from a different little town, a mining town. That put not just me through college, not just my brother and my sister, but remember how I was telling you that my dad's one of 12? Well, my mom's one of 10. So that's 22, right? Minus them, that's 20. Do the math. How many cousins do I have? Yeah, what's the over-under on my cousins, right? I literally have, I counted up last night, I have 49 cousins. Yeah. And every time that one of them was a little short with their tuition, every time that one of them needed a little bit of money for a down payment for a little apartment somewhere, he was there for them. My mom was there for them. My dad was there for them. And it wouldn't have been possible if it wasn't for that one courageous decision to go far away to go to school and hang in there when you don't speak the language, right? So, not just my cousins and myself and my brother and my sister, they supported my grandmothers. My grandfathers had passed away. And I don't know if I'd be in a position today to put my son through college. He wants to be an engineer. He's at Purdue University, just finished his first year. And he's loving it. But I remind him every day to call his grandfather and thank him. So, but it doesn't stop there, right? I mean, this is my dad, this is his office. It's not just what you can do for your family, the one you have now and the one that you're gonna have in the future. It's about what you can do for other people too. So here he is in his office, and every one of those books that he's pointing to is the doctoral dissertation of all his students. Guess what? They all have families too. They all went, some of them are in academia. They're training another 60 to 70 veterinarians in their career. It keeps getting better and better and better. But I take you back to that one courageous moment when he got on that plane. So why am I telling you all this? Because there's a few themes in here. It's not to brag about my dad. He's a real cool guy, but that's not why I'm telling you the story. I'm telling you this story because 30% of kids that go to college and drop out in the first year. They don't hang in there. I'm telling you all this because I want you to be courageous like Dr. Pedro Villegas, DVM, in your first year. Just like when he went to that provincial capital 72 miles away, just like when he left the comfort of everything he knew and he got on that plane, and then he did it again to go to Georgia. You don't know how good things can be on the other side if you don't jump over onto the other side. And come to California, pick up the phone and call your uncle. Right? You are on the cusp of leaving near or leaving far to go to college and do great things for your family. Those that are around you now and those that you have yet to meet. You're going to college, and that changes everything for every generation after you. You have the support of the San Diego Foundation that's very generous donors among you. These are people who truly believe in you. And don't ever forget them. Send them a note, send them a postcard from college. That's a great thing to do. I love postcards. College won't be easy. You might be a little afraid of time, afraid of the unknown. When you might feel a little marooned and homesick for mama's cooking, when you might not speak the language, figuratively or literally, when you might not think that you're good enough, and when those classes get really tough and you ask yourself, is this worth it? I want you to know that the answer is, oh yeah, it's really, really, really worth it. You are more than good enough. The fact that you're in this room means you're exceptional. And like my dad, you only need to overcome a little fear of the unknown and things are going to turn out really, really, really great. So, when you go through your life's history, you're going to find people that have been through a lot worse. You know, folks in your own family, folks, you know, at some point someone had to get on a boat, someone had to get on a plane, someone had to move many, many, many miles away. You got this. This is nothing. Because you have an army of family, friends, teachers, and supporters behind you. And you're not going to let a few challenges get in the way of meeting so many new people that can teach you so many new things and that can take you and the generation after you to places you probably can't imagine right now. You're carrying a flag. You're carrying a flag for your family. You're carrying a flag for those that sacrificed and worked very hard to get you here. Some of them may not be on this earth anymore. You're carrying a flag for all the teachers that prepared you for this next step. You're carrying a flag for the people who made your scholarship possible. You're carrying a flag for your neighborhood. You're carrying a flag, most certainly, for the community that you and your parents and their parents came from. So, in all of this, I want you to remember three little themes from my dad's story and also from your own story. The first is, and this is students and the parents, don't get phased out by distance. All right? Whether it's being on a bus or a trolley for 3 hours to get from San Diego State University, whether it's going to school hundreds of thousands of miles away and not really being able to get back when you want to, I can guarantee that your cell phone's going to work. And mom's going to be really proud when you FaceTime her. She's real proud of you now. And your pops is real proud of you now. I'm going to tell you something. You wait till you see her cry at your graduation. She's going to be really proud of you. And you got to hang in there to make that happen. And by the way, parents, you're going to miss your kids. You're going to miss them a lot. But you got to be helping them stay where they are. Right? So I have a friend, his name is Roberto Rivas. He runs an organization called Encuentros in North County, a little bit in the South too. And he helps Latino kids stay in college, get into college and stay in college. Latino boys too. And he says that the number one reason why Latino boys, and by the way, boys are more susceptible to come back home than women, by about 20%. That's just the statistics, the national statistics. But he says that the one reason it's not anything other than just mamitis. They was mom, right? Mom, you got to make sure they stay in school. Send the care package. Send one every week. You know, the tortillas will be good by the time they get there. Don't worry. Yeah. So number one is don't be phased out by distance. Number two, put in the work to make great grades and do good deeds. Antoine told you about giving back. It's not just about making the good grades. Find something to do where you're helping a younger generation. Like BLCI, when they mention the younger ones, and the younger ones, and the younger ones, and the younger ones. Every great grade and good deed that you do is like putting a little coin in a piggy bank. No one can ever take that from you when you make good grades. No one. They are yours. No one can take those good deeds from you. They are yours. And you might forget about them later. And even if you forget about them, one day you're going to make a withdrawal from that bank. And you're going to cash it in the form of somebody else around you noticing your good grades, your good deeds, your discipline, your focus, and your good heart. And they might have a fantastic job for you or something really cool for you to do that's going to change your life. And number 3, and probably most importantly, never, ever, ever forget where you came from. This is your superpower. In companies like mine, we talk a lot about diversity and how diversity is this great strength that you can leverage it. This diversity of perspective, right? Age diversity, racial diversity, ethnic diversity, religious diversity. And when you get a lot of people diverse around the table to make a decision, the decision is going to be way better because you have all that diversity around the table. Well, one of the biggest ways of diversity is just knowing where you came from and all the values and mores that come with that. Never forget it. Never forget it. And it doesn't matter whether you're rich or poor. You got perspectives that people need to hear. Doesn't matter if you're from Barrio Logan or you're from Baghdad. It doesn't matter whether you're from Mira Mesa or you're from Mexico City, Tierra Santa or Tegucigalpa, Linda Vista or Líbano, Tolima. Where you came from is your compass, and it can motivate you to great heights. So I don't ever forget where I came from. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Colombian national soccer team. We play on Tuesday. I'm here to recruit you. I need you. Don't ever forget where you came from. Take pride in where you come from, and it will motivate you and motivate you and motivate you. Congratulations. Thank you for allowing me to speak to you today. And God bless you.
Pedro, thank you so much. Both Pedro and Antoine, we wanted to thank you so much for your very, very inspiring speeches today. Fantastic. And even though it's been many decades since I've been to college, every single time I hear speeches like this, I'm always self-reflecting. So thank you again to both of our speakers. The program portion of this event today. What we have our picture backdrop set up in the back. So we highly, highly encourage, in fact, I'm just gonna say, you gotta go do it. So, and we'd love to have pictures by the fund, so both the donors and the students together to take photos. We have a lovely backdrop out here, the beautiful ocean and our own backdrop. We also have a number of items that you can use for your photos, pennants, T-shirts, hats that you can hold up and wear and cheer to take your pictures. We want this to be fun. So thank you again for joining us this morning. I hope you had great conversations with each other. And please don't forget to take pictures. Thanks again.